Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world in the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, or 1,393 of you, I think they're still here after all this time. Thank you one and all for being here. Thanks for joining me for this walk, and thanks for returning to watch me talk nonsense while I walk through the forest. So, a short public service announcement before we get started. These aren't the droids you're looking for. So, it's been a bit. It's been a minute, as they say. I've been away looking after my own mental health, playing lots of golf, working a lot, obviously. Don't stop working, as everyone knows, and just taking some time out for me. I've been a bit selfish with my time lately, and I think I need to be spending some time with my family, some time with my wife, and time with my kids. It's important for me to maintain my life, so that's why you haven't seen me for a little while. And also, honestly, we're living in clown world. I mean, it's ridiculous. So the title of today's video is "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the past sort of week or two, things are getting a bit spicy. So we're going to touch on some of that today, and what I mean by the revolution will not be televised. So let's get going, shall we? Now, where should we start? Where should we start? The most obvious, clearly, is Epstein. Okay? Now, for anyone who's been on this journey with me for the last, 5 years now? This is not my job, obviously. This is not my full-time job, and I don't want to make it my full-time job. I'm just out here being a commentator on things that I see, things that I hear, and the content that I interact with. I try and work that through my brain, what I've seen in the past, everything that I understand to be true, and the things that I've questioned a lot over my 52 and a half years, or nearly 53 years that I've been here in this reality, if that's what we're calling it. And I try and take that information and make sense of it, or try and make sense of it in my mind with what I think that I know to be true. Okay? That I think that I know to be true. There's no guarantees of anything, and like I always say, don't believe me. I don't expect anyone to believe a word I say. I'm just a guy who walks along in the forest talking to himself and tries to make sense of situations that don't make any sense. So do with the information I'm going to give you what you will. Take what you like and leave what you don't. And recognize that the information I'm speaking about is based on nonsense we've been fed for years. Okay? So I'm trying to sift through and find some some truth in it all, and make sense of it, which is what this is all about. So Epstein, okay. There's a few things we have to clarify before we go any further with Epstein, okay? Now, Epstein was twice convicted of child trafficking, okay? Twice. And then let off, okay? Now, the first person to let him off was a woman called Pam Bondi, who was the AG, Attorney General, in Florida at the time. Okay? Pam Bondi was that Attorney General. Now, he was also arrested the second time, which is when he died. As I've said for all this time, Epstein's not dead. He's not. He was taken out of there, out of the prison by I don't know who, but possibly put in a witness protection. But I've maintained all the way along that Epstein's not dead. He certainly didn't kill himself because he's not dead. Okay? Now, second time Epstein got arrested, he was kept in New York, in the Southern District of New York, was the prosecuting office, if you like. Now, that prosecution, much like P. Diddy, which we'll get to in a minute as well, was run by a woman called Maureen Comey. Okay, Maureen Comey. Now, you might know that last name. Her father is a prominent former FBI head called James Comey, who is a scumbag, to put it mildly, and corrupt, liar, piece of shit. Deep state. 100%. 100%. He is a little puppet on a string that controlled a lot of information. Brought arrests for, January 6th, the worst insurrection in history. It's funny that the people that they arrested for insurrection, insurrection. Go and look up what insurrection means before you start saying, but you don't know what you're talking about, Chris. Insurrection against a sitting president. Who was the sitting president at the time? Donald Trump. So there was an insurrection against a sitting president being Donald Trump. Oh no, but Joe Biden was already voted in. Yes, but Donald Trump, up until the 20th of January, is still president. So the insurrection by the MAGA people, who were put in prison for years with no trial, was sought out by the FBI under James Comey's leadership. Okay, so his daughter Maureen, sorry for any of you out there called Maureen, but yeah, it's not good. Maureen Comey was the lead prosecutor on the Epstein case when he was found dead in his cell by suicide, as we're told by Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, we know some of the players that are involved here. Okay, Pam Bondi, first prosecutor, Florida, let him off, and she was told to because he was intelligence. Well, he represented intelligence agencies. Now, with a name like Jeffrey Epstein, I'll let you guess the intelligence agency he was working for. Mossad! Sorry, I must have that flu again. His girlfriend, handler, whatever we're calling Ghislaine Maxwell, who is in prison still in France, I believe, for child trafficking to no one apparently, because there's no there on the files, right? So Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. A woman is in prison for child trafficking to no one. It makes sense to me. Yes, again, bullshit. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell also had a submarine license, ham radio operator's license. I mean, this woman's pretty connected, and her father, Robert Maxwell, was a prominent MI6 and Mossad agent before he had an accident and drowned off his boat called the Lady Ghislaine, off the coast of Italy, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Don't quote me. So now we've got some of the players in the game here. Okay? Now, let's take a few steps backwards before we go forwards. Okay? Dan Bongino, deputy at the FBI now. Okay? Dan Bongino used to have a big time podcast where he would talk about all these things about Trump and the deep state and Epstein, and said, on day one I would go into the FBI and get the Epstein files and the JFK files and blah 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 blah. All talk. He gets put into a deputy position at the FBI under a guy called Kash Patel, who for years was going on other people's podcasts saying, I've seen the Epstein files, they're disgusting, it's, blah, 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 there's a lot of people entrapped and blah 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 blah, bullshit. He's now the head of the FBI. And Pam Bondi was famous for saying, well, I've got those Epstein files on my desk. You remember the binders that we're giving to all those Israeli must have that flu, that new COVID variant. Maybe it's the bird flu that's going around. Bird flu that only chickens get, by the way. Okay. Yeah, I posted a great meme on Facebook the other day. It was, is anyone surprised? It was done by Catcherd, by the way. If you don't know who Catcherd is, go and have a look. Is anyone questioning that bird flu, the only birds that bird flu affects is chickens that we eat? Not the not the pigeons that would be falling out of the sky or any other birds that you see flying around, or falling out of the sky, obviously, in great numbers everywhere. Only chickens are affected. Okay? And the only animal farts that are directly messing up the environment are the cow farts. Not the zebra, not the buffalo, the wild buffalo, not the giraffe, not the wild horses, the camels, the elephants, you know, all the gazelle, all those wild animals running around in Africa. No, they're not responsible for the warming of the planet. It's only the cows that we eat. Strange again, don't you think? Don't you think? Oh, by the way, we've got this lab-grown meat just over here that's made by Bill Gates, so you can trust him. Didn't finish university, Dr. Bill Gates, right? He's going to jab you all with a secret sauce to make you all better from a disease you don't know you have. It's so serious you don't know how you have it until you have a test to tell you you've got it. That's how dangerous it is. But don't worry, we'll give you a jab for it, just in case. Dr. Bill Gates. Thank you, Doctor. Now, while we're talking about Bill Gates and Epstein, Bill Gates admitted in interviews that he was regularly having dinner with Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted of being a paedophile and a child trafficker. And then when he was questioned more about it, he's like, well, he's dead now, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Is he dead? No. Now, we've been told by all these people, Trump, Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, for a long time. We've got the files, we're going to release the files, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, no files exist. It's all a Democrat ruse that, just like the Hunter Biden laptop, the 51 intelligence agency said was a Russian disinformation campaign, and then Hunter Biden asked for his laptop back. Much like the Ashley Biden diary, where she said that her father, Joe Biden, was showering with her when she was 11 years old. We were told that was also disinformation, and then she asked for her diary back. Does that sound like the actions? Does that sound like the actions of a man who's had all he could eat? For those of you who know that reference, does that sound like the actions of someone who didn't own that diary, where they said that their father showered with them as a girl until they were 11, or the on Hunter Biden's laptop and on his telephone, where he regularly called Joe a pedo? I can't remember the name he called him. Sorry, it's pedo someone, Peter or something, Peter, something like that. We're not going to talk about that though. We're not going to talk about that. And just so you know, we're repeating a lot of this stuff again, but just because of where we are in this whole narrative shift at the moment, we have to sort of make sure that these points are brought back up again, okay? Joe Biden's wife, Jill Biden, was their babysitter for Joe Biden's first wife, who he had the children with. She was the babysitter. Then Joe Biden's wife dies in a car accident, kids survive, and he marries his babysitter. Everything's normal though. Meanwhile, Macron and his wife slash husband slash whatever the fuck that is, Emmanuel Macron, married his high school teacher, who started a relationship with him when he was 14. Oh, well, don't worry, I sent you a postcard from the trip there. So Emmanuel Macron, that guy is pushing for more war in Ukraine. His wife slash husband was his high school teacher, started a relationship when he was 14. But, and I like big butts, cannot lie, back when he was his high school teacher, was a man. Strange. Oh, we get a little puppy running towards me. Hello, little puppy. Hello. You want me to throw the ball for you? Of course I will. You ready? Ready? Go. How we doing? Just walking along, talking to myself. Have a great day. So, as I say, Emmanuel Macron's wife was a man when they started a relationship when he was 14 years old, but not a pedo. Oh, the statute of limitations has ran out on that. Who did Emmanuel Macron work for before he became French Prime Minister? Central Bank? Rothschild Bank, perhaps? We're not going to talk about that, though. Nothing to see here. Now, we're going to take a little bit of a sidebar here. Legalese. We're going to take a little bit of a sidebar here, and we're going to take it in a slightly different direction, but don't worry, we'll bring it back. We'll circle back, just like Jen Psaki used to, okay? Now, I maintain, and always have, that the biggest problem we face in this world is the creation of money. The creation of money. Because it's not based on anything. It's all currency. It's all fiat. Which means it has no value. It's based on nothing. It's based on trust. Do you trust these people who are issuing that money with nothing backing it? Yeah, but it's like a con man saying, just trust me. It's okay. It'll be fine. It's fine. You notice I say, don't trust me. I don't want you to trust a word I say. Go and look for yourself. Go and do your own research. I've done my own research, Chris, and this jab thing is the best thing I can ever do. I trust the science. Yeah. The only science that was involved was political science, of course. Now, creation of money is the root of all evil. How it's created, and the fact that it's created out of nothing with nothing behind it. Zip behind it. Oh, it must. The treasuries, the bonds, Chris. Bondage. Yeah, we've been through that before many times. But the creation of money and how that money is distributed once it's created. Much like what's happening in the US with the US AID. Now, everyone said, oh, it's US aid, Chris. You see, US aid. You're reading it wrong. You're reading it wrong. Okay? Because the US, as we call it, the US, United States, is not called the United States. It's called the United States of America. Okay? Which is USA. Okay? So what does the ID stand for? USA ID. International Development. Okay. Now, if you have a US AID where that has unlimited funds, but it needs to launder them somehow so it can be put into whatever they want to put it into, you need to make up some really spectacularly stupid shit that you can put as a title on where that money's going to go. Like transgender poetry reading in Afghanistan, $42 billion. Makes sense to me because, we need to internationally develop transgender poetry, because if we don't have that, what are we going to do with all that poetry? It's going to just go to waste. I agree. It's a damn shame that these kind of programs are being cut off, and we should all fight for it. Fight. Now, this all seems a little bit convoluted, but it all makes sense because it's all part of the same thing. Now, this dramatic 180 shift from Trump's administration, the people in it, Trump, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel, all turning around and saying, no, Jeffrey Epstein definitely hung himself. And we've got the footage from the door of the prison cell where the cameras didn't work. All right? And then it's like, oh, well, there's a minute missing from the video, but that's missing every night because they've been using the same videotapes. We're living in a digital world, and this prisoner has the most high-profile prisoners has videotapes that get reused over and over. Now, there's a minute missing on all of the videos. It's not just the one; it's all of them. Oh, but wait, it's not 1 minute now, it's 3 minutes. But Jeffrey Epstein definitely hung himself. And the video that we released, or the pictures of the video of the door, wasn't even his door. Because the cameras didn't work. So, we've got a situation where you had a Sleepy Joe was the resident in the White House. Well, most of the time he wasn't even in the White House. He was on holiday or being fed tapioca while he shit himself in the Vatican. True. This guy was his administration finished on a high note, of course, because it's after 4 years of just complete mayhem and a lunatic at the helm who didn't know his own name, was shitting himself regularly and bit people. The final cherry on the top of his administration was the auto pen. Now, if you haven't heard about the auto pen, you had all these things that were signed into law. You had the open borders in America, much the same as it is here in the UK, of course, where tens of thousands of people are flowing over the border. Military-aged men that have been put up in hotels at our expense. Seems perfectly normal. And by the way, while I'm talking about all this, I had an interesting phone call that was mentioning Brigade 77. Hi, Brigade 77. I know you're watching. Thank you very much for getting in touch. Yeah, there are interesting things afoot at the moment, and nothing is what it seems. Absolutely nothing is what it seems. And I told you when I started this journey 5 years ago that shit was going to get weird, like really, really weird. And to have people that were talking about one thing for years, and then all of a sudden it's a 180 turn. No, there's nothing there. There's no there. During Biden's administration, under Maureen Comey and people like James Comey and all the other clowns in the John Brennan over at the CIA, who was converted to Islam 20 years ago when he was based in Middle East. Seems perfectly normal to me. Not that I'm against Islam. For those of you who don't know, I've done many programs with the Islam channel here in the UK. I have nothing against the religion, nothing against Muslims personally, but there is a big push for against Islamic countries. So when I see things like that, like Iran being the enemy of everybody, and Iraq and the Middle East, the Houthis, the Palestinians, the Middle East in general, majority Muslim populations. When you want to make an enemy, that those people who fit into that box of being the enemy will push back at some point. Okay? And when you have people that are infiltrated within the confines of organisations that are supposed to oversee what's happening as a national security level, that are compromised, then you see where I'm going with that. Anyway, off the point. Now, there's so many points I wanted to bring up here. I'm just going to rifle through my head and find out where they fit into this conversation. So we have a situation here where Biden was in the White House or governing things for 4 years. Do you think that the evidence would have been tampered with at that time by corrupted organisations? Do you think? Do you think that maybe names were taken out, others put in during that time? Do you think there's more than one copy of that evidence? And why would you think, if my assumption of that Epstein never died, I always said it from day one, I've never ever said that he's dead. Why would that be? There was I can't remember, Megan, can't remember, a newscaster, American woman. I can't think of what her surname is. Doesn't matter. If you know who it is, put it in the comments. She came out and said, you're going to see Epstein again at some point in the future, which will clarify things. So if Epstein is taken out, put into witness protection, he's going to testify against these people who are compromised by the honeypot scam that Mossad CIA ran. This misinformation, the psychological operations that are going on day in, day out. I mean, it is. It's meant to have you questioning the reality that you see and asking yourself if you're crazy. Don't believe your lying eyes. Look what we're telling you. Now, to say, I have to be not careful, but I want to use my words correctly to raise a point without offending people who are not involved in this, who are innocent by association. Okay? Now, there's going to be some people that have been involved with Epstein who had nothing to do with the island, who had nothing to do with pedos, or who were entrapped in it by being drugged or whatever. Okay? It's easy enough to do. There's going to be other people who are, by association, namely by being Israeli, who are going to be targeted because they're Israeli. Well, the majority of Israelis have nothing to do with anything that's going on. They are caught in the middle of this by a corrupt government and a worse intelligence agency, being Mossad. I believe there's another one over there. I don't know, I can't remember what they're called. I'm sorry, but Mossad is the biggest name in the mix in intelligence agencies, and the CIA, obviously, that have been doing coups all over the world and removing leaders from their posts. Not excluding was it the president of Tanzania? Pretty sure it was the president of Tanzania who came out and said, we did tests with the COVID tests on goats and papaya fruit and engine oil, and they all came back positive. And then he died. Purely a coincidence, I'm sure. You know, people who are Kerry Mullis, the guy who invented the PCR test, said it should never be used for anything to do with diagnoses, dies. One of the main people that was involved in mRNA creation had his license removed from being a doctor, researcher. Just totally discredited, even though he invented the technology. We're in a psychological war that we have been for years, where everything that's being presented to us has a spin on it to portray a narrative to get you to think a particular way. Okay? Now, like I say, I'm not telling you the truth. I'm telling you what I think. This is, but we have a problem in the world where you have unlimited money, based on nothing, of course, and money buys whatever you want. If there's enough money involved, you can do whatever you want. Now, we've talked about this before as well, where how do you pay somebody for doing something without directly paying them? Because you have to explain why you're paying them millions of dollars, Now, I had this discussion with my wife, and she disagreed with me, of course, but that's nothing new. The sports personalities, these sports personalities who are paid millions of dollars a year for playing a sport, and celebrities, celebrities are much the same as sports personalities. They're all celebrities because they're pumped up in the media through TV shows. They get their own show, the Netflix series, Obama's had their own Netflix series, but no one watched, but they got paid millions in advance. Barack Obama, or what was his name? Barry. I can't think of what his surname is. Barry Obama and his husband, Big Mike, Michael LaVon Robinson, that is. He wrote a book called Becoming Michelle Obama. Got paid millions in advance. The Hunter Biden being a painter and selling his paintings for millions, that is money laundering 101. That's like the base level of how you launder money to people. Oh yeah, they've just got a book deal, or they've got a Netflix series, or they've got art that they're selling, or whatever it is. It's all a fucking scam. All of it's a scam. And this all comes from the free money printer that they had operating, the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, under Elon Musk's watch. Well, of course, he's stood down. And all these fake spats that go on between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump, all these fake media spats where it's like, oh, he said, she said, they said, we said, it's all bullshit. But the money computers, the magic money computers, where they just typed in some commands and money was spit out, going to wherever they wanted it to go. How do you think you launder that kind of money into places like through Ukraine, where they filtered it through FTX? Sam Bankman-Fried, whose parents are tax attorneys, never spent a day in jail. Or when they set up the shell companies that dealt with FTX, where the money was being sent to Ukraine to buy weapons, and they were sending the money to FTX to buy crypto, and then they were laundering the money through that, and then it was being sent back into the campaign funds of the politicians who sent the money there. Oh, but it's not happening here in the UK, Chris, or in Australia, or in Canada. In this country, where we have royalty, kings and queens. Can we get a new king? Yeah, we got a new king, King Charles. Now we're going to circle back to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein's, one of his best friends was a guy called Prince Andrew, King Charles's brother, who stayed at his property after he was convicted of being a paedophile and a child trafficker, who is linked to Virginia Giuffre, who not too long ago, within the last month, was run down by a bus and was killed. Perfectly normal. Just like all the accusers of Kevin Spacey. all the young boys that accused him of raping them when they were boys, they had tragic accidents as well. And Kevin Spacey wasn't aligned with the royal palace at all. Now, so King Charles, his brother, was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. But we're not talking about that. Donald Trump was, I could see a picture. I've got people who still send me pictures of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, see, Chris, he's linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you talking about Prince Andrew? Oh, because I was told to hate Trump. Okay, all right, as long as we're on the same page here, okay? And then we have our king, who was best friends with a guy called Jimmy Savile, who was a paedophile, necrophiliac, piece of shit rapist. I mean, honestly, this guy was the worst of the worst. Worst of the worst, and he was the best friend of the king of this country. But we're not talking about that either, right? We have and who remembers, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? Something like that, before COVID, BC. 1 BC, perhaps. Where the Black Forest, the police in Germany raided the Black Forest. Who was owned by who? Rothschilds? No. Much like Rothschild Island in Antarctica, but we're not going to go back to Antarctica again, are we? What's going on in Antarctica? I'm sure I did a video about that a few years ago. What's really going on in Antarctica? Nothing to see here. Now, Jeffrey Epstein is bigger than everyone can imagine. It's linked to Ukraine, what's going on in Ukraine, why the Russians went into Ukraine. We heard about the 46, I think it was, bioweapons labs that were set up by, is it Rosemont Seneca? I think it's Rosemont Seneca, don't quote me. Hunter Biden's company. Bioweapons labs paid for by the DOD, the Department of Defense in America, in Ukraine, developing biological weapons. Now, don't know what that was, but probably Bigfoot. If you see a Bigfoot behind me, running along doing some booger sugar, then pray for me. So Ukraine was, and probably still is, a child trafficking hub of the world. Now, there's so many threads to this. It's really hard to sort of put it all together, but Planned Parenthood in the US, set up by Margaret Sanger, if you don't know who she is. We've talked about her a lot over the years. Were performing abortions and selling their fetal body parts which is illegal, but they were, for things like stem cell research and, So if you think that's the only place they're getting bodies from, think again. Oprah. Oprah. We all know Oprah. Oprah Winfrey, wonderful woman. Yeah, she had a show. You get a car. You get a car. Yeah. She was best friends with a guy and promoted a guy called John of God in Brazil. He was a Brazilian faith healer or some bullshit that he said like that. Had a compound where he would kidnap young girls and force them into having sex so he could impregnate them and sell the children. You think he's the only one doing that? What do you think? Do you think that's the only place it's happening? What do you think? Ukraine was a hub for this kind of activity. Organs, children, sex slavery, work slavery, Ukraine was one of them. Who remembers a few years ago when Kazakhstan fell? Now, if you remember, I've talked about Kazakhstan as well, a lot. Why did that fall? What was going on in Kazakhstan? And if you haven't seen, I'd advise you to go and have a look at, go and Google or go to Yandex if it's even better. Google Kazakhstan architecture. If you want a bit of a interesting afternoon, have a look, because it's not what you think. Now, the reason I wanted to come out today is, I'm pissed off. I'm really not happy about being lied to on this kind of scale of just saying, no, everything about Epstein's a complete fabrication. Well, maybe the evidence was tampered with. Yeah, maybe. I agree. But to lie to people or to try and gaslight people, and then Trump turns around and says, if you still believe this, you're an idiot. To people that have gone along and supported the exposure of this kind of information for years and been ridiculed and mocked by everybody, saying that's not true, people aren't compromised, all this kind of fucking nonsense that we've been attacked with. You're a conspiracy theorist, all this nonsense that we've been attacked with for years. It just makes us look more stupid. I don't need help to look stupid. I can do it myself. Please, I'm fine. But this kind of rhetoric where it's like, oh, well, it's all just a big Democrat psychological operation. None of it's real. It's all fake, and just go about your day and forget about Epstein. It's not real. I don't like it. I think it's bullshit. And to treat people like that, to treat the people that have been talking about this information and sharing it, to try and get some exposure of this elite pedophile, worldwide pedophile ring of people that are completely compromised, are run by this organisation, these honeypot operations. I mean, they're stupid people. Honestly, the politicians are stupid people. They're not real. They're puppets. They're puppets. They're talking heads. That's all they are. Much like the fucking morons who read the news. They're talking heads, trained CIA, MI5, MI6, Mossad puppets, and they're there for a reason to exploit the narrative, to make you believe something that is completely untrue. They'll spin the story into a narrative that makes you believe something that is completely untrue. And then when it is exposed, like the bullshit narrative will be on the front page of the newspaper for weeks, or on the television. First story, Epstein didn't kill himself, Epstein killed himself, blah, 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 whatever the fucking story is. And that'll be on the front page of everywhere. And then when they print a retraction, when they get sued, it's on page 420. You won't ever hear about it. And people still believe, because once the story is in the public consciousness, then people believe it. And there's nothing you can do to undo it. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can show. There's nothing you can do to prove to someone else that doesn't want to see it that what they believe is untrue. As the saying goes, it's easier to fool someone than it is to convince someone they've been fooled. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. people I work with, people I know, people I've known all my life, and they still refuse to even look at information that runs counter to what they believe, because their belief system makes up who they are. And if they can't have a firm footing under where they stand on their beliefs and what they know to be true, then that just throws everything out the window and they can't deal with that. Me, I don't care. I don't believe any of this is real. Honestly, I believe we're living in the Matrix. I honestly believe that with every ounce of my being. I don't think any of this is real. So, as we move through this next section of lies, fabrication, psychological operations, and outright war, that we are, as InfoWars has long said, there's a war on for your mind. It's an information war. And it's all about making you believe something that's not true, to have control over you. So whether it's a fear mechanism, that using fear to control you, or whether it's just science that's paid for, bought and paid for, usually political science, to have you believe something, to sway public opinion, to have our society go in a direction that has been ordained to be how they want it to run by social engineers. Now, these social engineers operate out of platforms like the Bilderberg Group or the Davos Brigade, all the CEOs that are compromised to hell, obviously. The Barclays, the CEO of Barclays had to stand down because of his links to Epstein. Like, JP Morgan banked Epstein, It's astounding what has been hidden from people, and it's astounding that people don't want to know. I mean, it really is. It's the worst of the worst of the worst. I mean, anybody that would do harm to a child, as far as I'm concerned, they don't deserve to live. That's not saying that I'm going to do anything about it, because that's not my role. My role is to talk about these subjects, not to act on it, not to go to protest and wave a placard that no one cares about, or to burn things down or anything of the such. My role is to talk about things that are out in the public consciousness and perhaps influence someone to think a different way, or to take into consideration, maybe I don't know all the facts, and maybe the things that I believe are incorrect, but no one wants to admit that. Of course they don't. No one wants to believe that they're standing on shaky ground, and at any minute they could fall through to a place where they have no idea what to do and how to handle it, because their whole life has been based on a lie. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? I know how I deal with it. I go and play some golf. Go and hang out with my friends. Spend time with my family. Work on myself, walk through forest, breathe in some fresh air. Or is it real? Do you think that's air you're breathing now? But I try and do things that are positive for me, and share information that I believe is necessary for the wider audience to look at, to make a different decision than what we're being led to believe is true. Fair? So, like I say, convoluted as hell. There's so many threads to this. I could go on for another hour, but I know your time is precious and my time is precious too. I'm going home to cook a roast now. But I just want to make this video and say thank you for joining me for yet again for another walk, as I ramble, spew out information that doesn't seem connected at all. But it all is. It all is. You've got bankers, you've got politicians, you've got royalty, you've got all these people mixed up in the same pot of, and what maintains their grip on power? Money creation out of nothing, backed by nothing, and that's a control mechanism. Fear and money. Fear is used on you, and money is used for them. So, before I go, I must address this. For those of you who are involved in crypto, remember I've been talking about crypto for 5 years now, specifically XRP, XLM, Cardano, HBAR, these kind of things, not Bitcoin, not Ethereum. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh, but Chris, Bitcoin's $120,000. Who is talking about it? The same media that everyone knows is full of shit. Those people are telling you to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. What does that tell you? Now, I had to send some Bitcoin to someone today, and 40 minutes for a confirmation of transaction. 40 minutes. Can you imagine buying a cup of coffee with Bitcoin? Of course you can't. It's fucking stupid. Who would? No one would. Oh, but Bitcoin's the best. Bitcoin is outdated, slow, and expensive. Oh, but it's a new financial system, Chris. Fuck off. It's bullshit. It's fucking nonsense. That's not to say the price won't go up, but a bunch of wealthy people own it, so they're going to dump on you when the price goes high enough. You're the exit liquidity for those people because they're going to keep on pumping it. Ethereum is shit. And if you don't know, yes, you can make money on staking on Ethereum, and Ethereum virtual machine has been linked to other things. Yes. I know all the story. I know all about it. Don't worry. I've used it for years. If you don't know ETHgate, go and look it up. Go and look it up. See who was involved in ETHgate. Oh, who's that? JP Morgan again. What do you know? Created, funded Ethereum. Vitalik Buterin with China. Okay? Just look at the people telling you things and decide, do you trust them? Do you trust the media to tell you the truth? No, but you're trusting them to tell you the truth about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, when I say the revolution will not be televised, of course the revolution's not going to be televised. Who runs the networks? And if the truth starts to come out, what do? Oh, they turn off. Oh, we're switching over now to our man in the studio rather than covering some information that's coming out over there, because that doesn't benefit us. It makes us look bad. The networks, the media networks are owned and operated by 6 corporations worldwide, or maybe 7 corporations worldwide. Movies, so movies includes the media, all owned by the same people. Most of them come from where? Who owns the big movie studios in Hollywood? Who owns Pornhub? Yeah. So question the information. But the point I was getting with the crypto, have you seen the crypto prices? The real ones to watch, Bitcoin, yeah, the price will probably go up, but is it worthwhile? Try and send some. Just try and send some from a wallet to another wallet and see how long it takes to confirm the transaction. Same with Ethereum. See how much it costs you to send Ethereum anywhere, just from one wallet to another wallet. Just try it. Then go and try something like XRP or Tron, Try it. Just move them around and see how much it costs you and see what you think is better. I leave it up to you. You've got to make your own decisions about what you do. But question what you're being told is my entire argument. That's all I'm saying. Question what you're told and who's telling it to you, because maybe they're just misinformed. Maybe they've never used crypto and they're just saying Bitcoin and Ethereum will go up because, well, they've always gone up. Question it. On that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. I've got places to be and things to do and dinner to cook, as always. But thank you once again for joining me for the walk. It's an honour and a privilege to serve you all in whatever capacity I am serving you in. And I thank you one and all for the subscriptions and for the likes and thumbs up and all those other things and the comments that you leave. And the support over the years of me walking around and talking about things that we're told we're not allowed to talk about or we shouldn't talk about, or I'll get in trouble for talking about. But I'm still here. I don't know how. Like I say, Brigade 77, hello. The poor person who has to watch this nonsense on behalf of Brigade 77, I almost feel sorry for you, but I don't, and you know why. So, on that note, thank you once again. Go out into the world, do good, and be good, and you can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you talk, the way that you act, what you're sharing with the world. That can change the world. So do it, and you can make the world a better place. But most important of all, look after yourself, look after each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.